be baking chocolate and vanilla. And for these, we'll need our ingredients. Starting with our cake mixes, we have vanilla and chocolate. And then back here we have foam blocks to stick the cake pops in so they can dry without resting on something. And then we have cake pop sticks, which you will put in the dough. And then we also have candy melts, where you melt them down and you can dip in the cake pops. We have frosting to mix in with the cake to make it gooier. And then we have sprinkles for the top once it's done. We have bowls to mix it in. We have a mixer to mix the items, and we have a few eggs. So this step is, we got the foam blocks from earlier and we covered them in tin foil, and then we poke holes in them. That way, when we put the cake pops in these holes to let them dry, it doesn't get flat on one side when you're resting on a hard part. It can just stick up. We will be making right now one batch of chocolate and one batch of vanilla. Right now we're just buttering the pan to get ready to put in the oven, and we've preheated it to 350 on both ovens. I'm flouring up the pan to prevent the cake from sticking, and I'm doing this by putting flour on it and then shaking back and forth, and it coats the bottom. In a separate bowl than the cake mix, you will mix up your wet ingredients, which for ours are eggs, oil, and water, and then mix it up. Mix the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients and beat as the instructions say. And a quick tip is, if you're going to mix it, turn it on when you put it in, not before you put it in. Otherwise, it'll spew everywhere and get everything dirty. Our mixed ingredients into our floured and buttered pan. Kind of sift the pan around to even out the batter. Don't forget, most important part, eat all the stuff left over, because otherwise it'll go to waste, and nobody wants this to go to waste. Now we will put this into the oven to bake, and make sure you put it on the middle rack of the oven.
1 hour later.
Now it's done, we will put it on the grill to cool off a little before we cut it up in preparation to make it into balls. And now with your cake mix, you're going to cut it into fourths, like so. And I recommend scoring it first by lightly rubbing your knife against it to give yourself sort of a pattern or a line to go by. And then just put half of your cake into a separate bowl, like so. And you can just set the other half to the side. Once you have half of your cake in a bowl, you're going to want to wash your hands, but leave your hands a little bit wet. And then you're going to want to crumble up your cake. Just kind of get it very crumbly. You're going to want tiny little crumbs. And once you get it into crumbs, you will add frosting. And this will be used to make the dough balls. And you kind of just want to, like, you know, really, you got to get messy with it, because you're not going to be able to mix it up if you don't use your hands. So you're going to want to add about a tablespoon of frosting. For us, we use vanilla. But if your cake is dry, you're going to want to add more. But if it's very moist, you're not going to want to add as much, because if it's too wet or too moist by adding too much frosting, it will be gooey and it won't taste good. So you're gonna wanna get about a tablespoon of dough. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a rough estimate to keep the balls semi the same shape. Now, this one and this one aren't the same, but it's a basic shape. And then what you're gonna do is smash it a little, not too hard, just kind of getting it, you know, into a good state. And then you're gonna wanna roll it between your palms, not too hard, just rather light, till you get the right shape. You can like squeeze it a little, kind of put it how you want it, and then once you're done, you use like a plate or a sheet like this, and there you have your dough balls. Now you're gonna wanna put your rolled up cake balls into your fridge for about 30 minutes. I'm sorry, freezer, not fridge. And they're gonna roll around a little, but it's okay if they're touching each other. While your cake pops are in the freezer, you wanna set up your decorations. So for our vanilla, we will have white candy melts and blue candy melts. And for our chocolate, we have brown candy melts and green candy melts. And we're also, right now I'm grabbing a few cake balls at a time to get ready to dip in. I'm gonna grab about 4, maybe 5. And then I will close the freezer back up. Alright, so we got 5 medium-sized dough balls ready to dip. So now what we're gonna want to do is get a microwave-safe bowl and pour about half of our candy melts into that. And then you're gonna want to microwave it for 30-second intervals at half power, and then stir it with a spoon until it's a good consistency to dip. Once you think you have your chocolate at a right consistency, stir it with a cake pop stick to make sure that if there are any chunks left of chocolate, that it gets blended in. I'm getting my sticks and I'm dipping them in my chocolate sauce, you know, just a reasonable amount. And you're gonna wanna stick it in. Now this chocolate, not too far, just about halfway, maybe a little more. This having chocolate on the stick makes it tighter and less easy to fall off, and that causes it to stay on better. Get the cake pop colored, you're gonna wanna dip it in your color, which in this case is green, but our green has a little bit of brown in it, but that'll have to do. And you're gonna wanna twirl it in the chocolate first, and then you're gonna wanna dip some on with your spoon. Just kind of lay it over on the top. And ours don't look great because it's the first time we've ever done it, but it's something. Alright, if you want to put sprinkles on it, you cover it, and then you want to roll it on the side like this. Just slowly. And then while it's still wet, you're going to want to dip it into the sprinkles and kind of roll it around. And yeah. So this is our end of our cake pops. We started off with the green, so you can see they're a little more bumpy, but ended with the blues, and so they're a lot smoother. And this is the end product. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you learned something